So we're here to discuss cynicism, virtue, and Diogenes with my guests, Nick Dunlap, TMHS sophomore, Connor Blair, TMHS sophomore, Brian is there, fellow TMHS sophomore,
You're terrible.
and George Washington University senior, Alec DeFruscia. Welcome.
Hi.
So, at the time of Diogenes, there was a time where people were kind of selfish and didn't want virtue in their lives, and he was one of the only few that wanted it, which made him a cynic, and he had some of his followers kind of develop that type of thought in their lives. So I thought we'd start off the conversation with the question, should we strive for virtue? Why or why not? Connor, please start.
I think we should strive for virtue in our lives because it's important to help others and not be selfish. And to act morally and ethically correct is something that should be done by all so we can have a more prosperous society.
Brian?
I second Connor's idea because if we all have virtue in our lives, we can help society, which in turn is helping ourselves. Because if people are always helping people, you'll get help too. It's a chain reaction that will affect all of us.
Nick?
I don't agree with either of them. I feel like a life of virtue just leads down to a path of just loneliness. Because you're just trying to help others and nobody's trying to help you, and you just won't take the help.
Actually, if we all have virtue, then others would be helping you.
Thank you.
But you can't take the help.
But you can. You can take the help.
Alec, what do you have
You're all
to say?
full of baloney. You too. Helping society will help me? No, that's wrong. The only time that society will be helped is when I help myself. That way society doesn't have to help me. So you're on the right track there, Junior. Now, Diogenes was a big believer in self-sufficiency, but he hated selfishness. So while you two are kind of right, but at the same time you're not. You need to help yourself before you start helping other people,
Yeah.
so that you're not relying on others. But I disagree with him in the form of selfishness. Because selfishness leads to wealth, and wealth leads to envy, and envy makes other people want to become wealthy, and when those people become wealthy, society automatically becomes better. I.e., the United States of America. Capitalism is the definition of envy, right? Because I see so-and-so becoming rich, so I also want to become rich. That gives me drive to achieve the American dream. So Diogenes is wrong in that we should not be selfish.
You know, I agree with both points. I mean, helping others is always a great thing. But I also do agree with that you have to help yourself before you can help others, just so you can save your back in a case in which someone doesn't help you. Our next question would be, is virtue a value that someone possesses? Connor.
Well, it's a little bit of both. Some people are just naturally more virtuous, but I also think it's a trait that needs to be developed over your lifetime.
Okay. So what you're saying is, some people are just naturally nice and want to just do the best for others, and you can tell they were just that way to begin with, as like a little baby. But then
Yeah, so when was the last time you had a baby that was nice?
sharing toys.
I was walking through the
I actually believe
That's not a
that
baby.
is
You're-
still
you're-
developed.
You're a toddler.
You're a toddler at that point. We're talking babies. I'm talking right out of the womb.
Okay.
Name me the last time you met a baby that just didn't want to eat and poop all day. Can you?
It was a
Just
dark
like-
and stormy night.
Okay, so now you just... Next person.
I believe that virtue has to be developed through life experiences.
Okay, so kind of like a mother raising their child that
Yes.
way and teaching them kind of to be a good all-around kid.
Yeah, like simple stuff like sharing toys, or maybe the mother is like, get what's yours and don't
Can we
share.
be politically correct and use guardian? Because we don't want to offend anyone who doesn't have a mother.
Very true. So any guardian that is raising a child would be the one that's teaching them these good virtuous ways or not virtuous ways.
Okay. Nick, what do you have to say?
I just think it's based off of experiences. I mean, if you grow up somewhere that is just bad and there's crime and stealing and all that,
You don't really learn those
you don't
things.
really learn anything. But if you grow up in a nice society like Northside, you just You just learn to be nice and
That would
care
be
for
both
others.
sides.
I object that thought. I think it's a very stereotypical thing that these north side places versus places. I feel like, honestly, simply because you grow up in a place full of crime and like maybe like killing places, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna grow up without virtue and not want to help people. You can
It's
tell
just
a
in
very
most
good
cases.
guardian.
It's in a
I think
Majority.
if you put a baby into the woods and it just survived on its own,
That's
it could
impossible.
still
That's
I
not
could still be a virtuous
I'm pretty sure
person.
the ancient Greeks put babies into the woods to kill them.
That point was so irrelevant.
yeah,
Like, there was
What
no-
I'm just saying, you can
Yeah.
be born a virtuous person.
You know,
can't-
I'm
Be
going
polite.
to,
Be
you
polite.
can.
Be polite.
I'm going to have to agree here with Jimbo.
That's me.
I believe Ronald Reagan once said that real change in America starts at the dinner table. So regardless of where you are born, you can be virtuous.
Thank you.
If you have a good upbringing and you are taught the right, you can teach yourself the right and wrongs of society.
Very true.
That's
You just said you can teach yourself.
Uh-huh.
Like,
You find me a baby that can survive in the woods, and I will recant that entire statement.
And to be
Right.
fair, he
Plants
also
and food
said.
everywhere, it's
To be
good.
fair, he also said with a good upbringing,
Yeah,
he
so
can
you have to
he
live
can
in a-
learn the ways
That's
through other
not
experiences.
Because you can live in a place where there's all that crime, but most people are not virtuous.
But some still are.
That's not
Yeah.
true.
But what you're
There are
saying
no
is-
places where there's a lot of crime where most people aren't virtuous. All people are inherently virtuous.
To an extent, until desperate measures come.
Well, let's not use desperate measures because I don't.
What desert measures are you talking about?
If you're thrown into a life or death situation, if you're thrown into a situation where someone is threatening you, something like that, you may.
But even in
go
that,
against-
even in that case, wouldn't you say killing someone for your own self-safety is virtuous?
No.
because it's selfish.
Right.
Yes.
But if we're looking at it by a case-by-case basis, if I live and I'm virtuous, I'm killing the guy who's not virtuous. I'm not threatening to kill anyone. I'm killing the guy who's threatening to kill other people.
Yeah, but no. This is
So aren't I
pointing a
saving-
gun
He-
and
he's
both-
trying to
Aren't I
say that
saving-
he's helping everyone.
Aren't I
else
saving?
out.
Aren't I saving society by taking one more gun-wielding murderer off the streets?
Yeah.
You
He's
know,
helping other people. That's what he's saying.
that's
So it's
like
a
if me and Brian are
non-selfish
both
act.
hanging off a rope, and I use his dead body to like get back up. But we're both virtuous people.
Another point that was completely irrelevant.
What are you talking
There was no point
Right.
at all in that statement that made sense. Please leave.
What does that even have to do with anything?
Alright, he's gone, so now we can get back.
So the last question we have today is, knowing what we know about virtue and cynicism, are you a cynic? Alec, would you like to start?
Oh, we're starting with me. Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes, because I believe in striving for virtue. No, in the regards that I need to be selfless, because I believe a little bit of selfishness is good for everyone.
Okay. Nick.
I honestly don't believe I am a cynic because I feel like I'm not just that virtuous enough. Like, I feel like they take it to an extreme, and I'm just kind enough, but I'm not that level of kindness.
I would have to agree with Nick because, being someone who tends to like things that are materialistic and sometimes doesn't think of others as much, I think mostly I am not a cynic, but at times everyone is a cynic. So I think partially I am, but for the most part, no, on the basis of selfishness. Right.
I have to agree with Alec very much because I'm somewhat virtuous because I like to help people. Because I feel like that would make other people help people. Like I said earlier, it's a chain reaction. But I probably couldn't be like a full-time cynic because I do care about myself and I want to strive for greater things. And you have to be a little selfish to have that drive to get where you want to be in life. And you can't help people unless you help yourself first. And that's the only way you can accomplish stuff in life.
Last but not least, the Connor Blair. What do you think, Blair?
I don't think I'm a cynic personally because I don't always act to morally and ethically correct standards, and I can be selfish at times, and I like to help myself before others. So that's pretty much.
Okay. So, for the most part, you kind of think that you aren't thinking of others first. That's your thing.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
Okay.
Because as Diogenes said, what I like to drink most is wine that belongs to others. In that way, I'm selfish, because wine is expensive, and it's much easier to take it from others.
That's.
Interpreting that literally, of course.
Anything anyone else would like to add?
Maybe just about wrapped it up.
All right.
Why not whip the teacher when the pupil misbehaves?
Another great quote by the Diogenes.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's two questions that we really have to debate.
that's really thinking about how Diogenes really kind of wanted to go against his society, and really he clashed with other great philosophers that taught him the way that he grew up.
Like Aristotle.
Exactly, and that was really the big thing back then. They weren't.
How come the pupil is always in the wrong? Why isn't the teacher, or in this case, society?
Exactly.
Why are societal norms always in the right?
And I think
And
that's,
the people who think against society always wrong.
and that's what really drew in the real cynical part of Diogenes, just because he wanted the difference of the way people treated each other and all of that, which I really think is the whole basis of Cynicism and Diogenes' preachings.
And he enjoyed getting hammered, drinking other people's wine.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. YOLO.
Alright.
Thank you.
I'm moving to the country, I'm gonna eat a lot of peaches. I'm moving to the country, I'm gonna eat a lot of peaches.